What is up, Nets fans? Welcome to another live Brooklyn Buzz. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Jack Manuel. What's up, Jack?
Let's hope for some good omens again this time, Nicholas.
Yes, Jack, are you still riding high off that Houston win?
I mean, you can't not be. Let's hope we continue that ride. Funnily enough, in a city that has Disneyland.
Yes, and I believe Spencer Dinwiddie has Mickey Mouse shoes tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
He does. He does. They look pretty cool. I mean, his kick game has been strong all season.
Yeah, and talking about being in Orlando, being in Florida, we got Nets versus Magic. Nets are coming in 500, 23 and 23. Magic are coming in 19 and 25. This game does have playoff implications. Obviously, the Magic are 3 games behind the Nets trying to get in the playoffs. Are you excited about this matchup?
I think this is going to be really competitive, Nick. Both teams coming off an OT game. Obviously, the Nets got the result that they wanted. The Orlando Magic didn't against Detroit. Both teams really wanted to cement or fight for that sort of 6, 7, 8 seed. I think that this is going to be a really tough contest for both teams, and it's going to be a game of swing and momentum, as basketball generally is. So hopefully, by the time that 48 minutes is up, the Nets have the lead.
Yeah, exactly, Jack. And this is odd enough. It's the first time these teams have matched up. Last year, they've already matched up 2 or 3 times at this point. So it's going to be the first time we see Orlando, and the Magic are won 2 of their last 3, including wins over Houston and Boston, just like the Nets. The Nets have won 15 of their last 20. So it's a pretty exciting game. You know, the Magic were struggling a little bit, but it looks like they've gotten some rhythm. They're a better home team than road team. So it's going to be a tough matchup. It's not like they're going to walk in there and get a big win.
No, it's and I think that there's a lot of guys on this Orlando Magic roster that are going to give the Nets a few worries. They've got some nice size about them, which generally doesn't play well against. And it's obviously now with Ed Davis and Jared Allen going forward, I think that we are more capable, more ready for it. But, you know, we had some guys playing some big minutes. Jared Allen, 43, Joe Harris, 43. So we're going to have to be ready. We're going to have to use that depth to our advantage.
You mentioned Vucevic, who's having, a fringe all-star season, and Jared Allen playing 43 minutes. Is this a night where we maybe see more Ed Davis and Jared Allen?
I think it's almost fait accompli, Nick. I'd be surprised if that's not the case. Maybe they split the minutes 25 and 23, something around that range, but I don't expect Jared Allen to play anything more than 30 minutes tonight. I would be surprised if that's the case. He also has had his issues with Vucevic in the past, and like you mentioned, he has been absolutely sensational this season, and I think he's an all-star, but we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. But Coach Kenny's going to have to go into his bag of tricks because he's been given the depth at his disposal. It's just going to be how he utilizes it now.
Other than Vucevic, who are you most concerned about on this Orlando team? Terrence Ross having a career year, Aaron Gordon starting to find some rhythm. Who else really concerns you that can put up points against the Nets?
I think guys that can put up points are guys like, Evan Fournier, who, don't Google his name. I really never got what that was. What's the meaning behind that? Do you know, like, the origins of it?
I'm pretty sure something inappropriate comes up. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't take the risk myself. I want to keep my search history safe, but I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, Fournier, obviously crafty scorer, especially against a young team like the Nets. He can find a way to get to the free throw line a little bit too.
Yeah, and I think Aaron Gordon as well. He's been in some trade rumors of late. I think he's going to want to have a big game, and I think that he's sort of a guy that we've been linked to in the past. We've talked about him in past sort of buzzes in terms of a trade guy and a guy we could offer a contract to. So I think Aaron Gordon's going to have a big one, and I think Vucevic will be up there as well. But this is a team that you can't play lightly against because they're coached well by a guy like Steve Clifford. They have the ups and downs, but at the same time, they're going to be highly motivated.
Yeah, do you think this is a game where the Nets need to really try to push the pace? I think Orlando's bottom 5 or bottom 10 in pace, and obviously the Nets are for the season, but over, their winning streak and their winning stretch since December 7th, they've been more in the top half. Is this another game where they need to try to push the pace?
Yeah, I think we sort of saw in the Houston Rockets game, Nick, when we play our own version of basketball and we execute, there's not many teams that can stop us, especially because we play a very solid, fundamental style of basketball. You attack the paint, you kick out to the perimeter guys, take a few mid-ranges here and there when the rhythm is going, get to the free throw line. I think that we are 20th, I believe, overall in pace this season. I think the Magic, like you mentioned, are like 26th or something. But at the same time, we have the ability to change tack and push it a little bit more. Spencer Dinwiddie likes to do that a little bit more. But at the same time, we'll have to see how that pans out. But I think the Nets need to stick to their game style, not get bogged down into whatever the Orlando Magic's doing. But we are going to have to put in a decent defensive effort, because generally whenever we defend well, it generally leads to good results on the other end.
Yeah, and I feel like this team has a lot of capable scorers, and you don't want to let them get hot early on. Even a guy like DJ Augustine get hot from three. Terrence Ross, like I mentioned, has been good this season. Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, just a lot of guys in this team have the potential to score. But talk on the net side, you mentioned Dinwiddie. Do you expect Dinwiddie to continue his hot streak, or do you think D'Lo's going to have a bounce back game?
I think D'Lo will be in line for a bounce back game, but I think this game should give Spencer Dinwiddie all the confidence to just go back to his old ways, where he's attacking the basket at will. They've got guys like Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, who are very capable, budding defenders. But if you've got a guy like Vucevic out there defending the rim, I want Spencer to continue to attack. He's one of the best in the league at it. He draws fouls at not necessarily a James Harden level, but he's, in the upper echelon when it comes to that sort of thing. So I think if we put the pressure on Orlando to defend us in the way that we want to do it, make them defend us around the perimeter, pressure them inside the paint, then I think that we're going to get the result that we want, hopefully.
Yeah, and Orlando's a pretty good defense team. In terms of on-ball defenders, they have some guys you can take advantage of. They do have some plus defenders as well, but it'd be nice to see Spence get to the lane, get to the rim, get to the free throw line, and really help the Nets kind of build off that game. Because I think when the Nets get to the free throw line, they're such a better team. They get to set up their half-court defense, and things just run so smoothly.
Yeah, I think free throws, I'd love to look through the stats in depth. If we shoot, say, 20 or more free throws, or we win the free throw attempt battle, how often we win. I'd be very surprised if, when we do generally win that, or if we're shooting above, 75% from the line. A team like the Lakers last night, who are one of the worst in the league at it, got to like 85, 90% last night against the Thunder, and it was a key reason why they won the game. I think it's easy buckets, Nick, for the most part, but we just obviously need to be able to create those opportunities, break down the Orlando defense like you mentioned. And, they're not necessarily the best team in the league, but on their night, they've got plenty of guys, like we mentioned, Terrence Ross, who I think is, going to be coveted by many teams if he ends up being on that sort of trade table. But there's going to be plenty of guys that we're going to have to watch out for, because they're relatively deep as well.
Yeah, they do have some solid players in this team. It's not like they have a whole bunch of scrubs and a couple all-stars. They have a lot of solid guys across the board. I think their weakest position is probably point guard, so that's why we're really hoping Dinwiddie and D'Lo can kind of bounce back. But talking Treveon Graham, who you did a great video breakdown, be sure to check that on Twitter and netsrepublic.com. Do you expect another great game from him? And how is his defense going to help the Nets against a guy like Aaron Gordon?
Yeah, I think his defense is just the most important thing going forward, Nick. I think we might see a few more minutes from guys like Shabazz Napier and Rondae Holmes-Jefferson tonight, because guys like Treveon Graham and Jared Allen did play extended minutes to Damari Carroll. So I think that we might see different rotations. So I'm not expecting another 20-point performance from a guy like Treveon Graham. But if he hits the open shots, he takes the open shots, and he plays good man-to-man defense on some of these more capable guys, be it a Terrence Ross, be it a Aaron Gordon. Obviously, he plays on those power forwards despite his size being about 6'5" or so. Then I think that he's fine in the role that he is. I think that will give him, like mentioning Spencer Dinwiddie, it's all about confidence for NBA players. And I think that when you're having a career night hitting the open shots, and he had a really nice pull-up game as well, I think that Treveon Graham is an important part of this Nets team going forward.
Yeah, I like the way he drove the ball. And it was almost like a pull-up game, and I don't even want to call it a teardrop, because it was almost like a line drive type shot that he was taking, but he was using his strength to really attack defenders, and I like that. I like the toughness he kind of brings to his team. Like you said, hopefully he can build off of that. But, Jack, moving on from there, what are some of the keys to this game for the Nets to pick up the W?
I think the Nets really need to get inside the paint. I think that there's a lot of things that you want to sort of emphasize. And I think when it comes to the offensive part of the game, Coach Kenny drives home getting inside the paint, because when the three ball isn't falling and you're at least pushing and penetrating the defense, it puts the pressure on them, and that leads to more open shots. So I think that's the most important thing from the offensive side. And I think defensively, I don't have a good feeling when it comes to Nikola Vucevic. I just think this guy is very, very talented. I think that a lot of teams would absolutely love to have him on their roster. Like I mentioned, I think he's an all-star this season. His ability to stretch the floor. I saw someone mention on Twitter that he's like a Brolo sort of type in his ability and his offensive game. Not the best defender, which is, I think, if we can get him into foul trouble, maybe get Spencer Dinwiddie, push it in there, guys taking him off the dribble a little bit, then I think that that's going to benefit us. So that's probably another key for me as well.
Yeah, I think if Jared Allen, too, if he's not too tired from, like you mentioned, the 43-minute performance in the 20 and 24 rebound game, he can kind of attack him vertically and use his quickness in the pick and roll and maybe get him in foul trouble because Vucevic isn't the quick-footed guy. He does have great footwork, great touch around the rim offensively. Defensively, what do you think they should do against him? Do you think they should just let him work in the post one-on-one, or they should send some double teams and just kind of make him uncomfortable down there?
I think it's going to be a matter of how it all pans out, Nick. You know, we sort of saw against Anthony Davis when we were both there live at the game, throwing different looks at him, throwing him Jared Allen in spurts, you know, that length and athleticism, and then throwing Ed Davis for that sort of physical presence that he's obviously going to make any guy uncomfortable. I think that that's where we're going to probably need to go. Use that sort of depth. And, you know, if there's time to maybe throw a guy like Kenneth Faried out there, I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but I think we should see some more minutes from Ed Davis tonight.
Yeah, I think Ed Davis can kind of use some of that toughness because Vucevic does a great job of using his body to get great position in the paint, and he uses the angles very well. So hopefully they can kind of use a little bit of Ed, throw some different looks at him, just keep him uncomfortable. And like we've seen in the past, and that's defense. I mean, shout out to the coaching staff and Kenny Atkinson. They've kept, you know, good players uncomfortable by throwing different looks at the offense a lot.
Yeah, and that's generally what is a real strong suit of ours. You know, the element of surprise in any sort of form is going to make a team uncomfortable and going to make a team adjust, which is what you generally want. You know, the Nets the Magic, are quite fundamentally sound when you have a coach with the ilk of a guy like Steve Clifford. So throwing different looks at them is going to make them uncomfortable. You know, if it's going to do it against a supreme sort of upper echelon team in the Boston Celtics, you know, the same thing is going to be said for a team like Orlando Magic, who is by nowhere near have the talent of a Celtics team.
Exactly, Jack. Now, before we get out of here, Jack, this player is going to have a great game. The Nets are going to win. Last time you picked Spencer Dinwiddie, I picked Jared Allen. We both kind of won in that situation. Hopefully we can repeat tonight.
I'm going to go D'Angelo Russell.
I like it. I think I'm going to go with the same one, D'Angelo Russell. He had some big moments. I think one of his first big moments as a Net came against Orlando in the home opener last year. That's where he got that great gif of him kind of, it's time. So hopefully he can have some more moments like that tonight. And your prediction for the game, Jack?
I'm going to go... look, I went against the Nets last time and it worked out. So I'm going to go against them again just for that good karma.
Despicable. Despicable, Jack.
I'm going to go the Orlando Magic by 3, the exact same prediction I had last time. It worked out last time, Nick, so I'm going to continue the trend. If I have to pick against the Nets all season, it means we win 50 games. I'm going to bloody do it, mate.
All right, Jack. I'll give you some credit on that end because you're kind of playing the odds. I'm going to go with the Nets by 6 in this one. I think they're able to handle business. Orlando's going to make a late run, but they're going to be able to hold it off, and they've learned from some of the experience, and they're just a really good team right now. You know, the Nets are playing with confidence, and they're just a team that's really hard to beat. They're not giving you games for free anymore.
Yeah, and their hotel looked pretty sweet. Seeing some posts from Jana Musa on Instagram and D'Angelo Russell. Very nice day in Orlando, enjoying the hotel. Also nice to see Jana Musa doing some posts with our boy Rondé and Karis LeVert. But hopefully they're not having too much fun. They still get the W. Yeah,
it's building up that team chemistry. I'm sure the team's enjoying the sun. It's cold in New York. We're supposed to get some major snow over the weekend, so hopefully they can kind of enjoy that. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Jack?
No, just thank you to D-Rock, who's jumped on and thrown us a few comments, not necessarily questions, but we appreciate any and all the interaction on the pre-games, the post-games, and hopefully this continues for us, and then let's get the W.
Yes, sir. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at the JManJBT and at OTG Nick. And also you can find the show iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, NetsRepublic.com, Dash Radio, and obviously YouTube.